Hey, everybody, and welcome to Cosmic Potato, the Super Fan Talk podcast. My name is Sean Ray, and in honor of the opening of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, who wants to hear a joke? What do you call a dog that belongs to a Mandalorian? Boba Pet.
No.
Who wants to hear a joke? Which website did Chewbacca get arrested for creating? WikiLeaks. Who wants to hear a joke? How do you get down from a bantha? You don't. You get down from a goose. Who wants to hear a joke?
Wait, no, I don't get that last one.
How do you get down
feathers.
from a bantha? You get down from a goose.
I see. Okay. I'm
still
waiting to hear a joke.
What program do Jedi use to open their PDF files? Adobe One Kenobi. Sitting across the virtual table from me is the master of puns himself, John Irons. How's it going, sir?
Great.
Those went over about as well as I thought they would. And also joining us tonight is one of the hosts of Wait You've Never Seen, Virginia. How's it going?
I'm just sadly shaking my head at your joke, at your jokes.
Imagine the torture that my wife and my daughter go through on a daily basis. I'm a dad joke king. And from the Prime Direction, we have Scott. How's it going, sir?
We are recording this podcast on the 37th anniversary of the release of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And that's the kind of BS you bring?
Hey, our listeners know what they get when they tune into this show. All right. So listeners are all saying, Sean, you said last week that there wasn't going to be a show this week. And, well, I lied. So, actually, what had happened was we were going to do an episode of the landing party tonight. And we were going to talk about the What We Left Behind documentary. But Rick's moving this week, and he's recovering from surgery, so I'm not sure why he thought that he was going to be able to record a podcast in the first place, but he had to cancel. So since we were all already going to be on, we decided, hey, we'll just do an episode of Cosmic Potato. So that gives us an opportunity to talk about some pointless news that's happening in the world of film and television, review a couple of things that we've been watching. We're also going to do a round of frequently unasked questions and possibly play a game of sleep in a bucket later. So let's before we get into anything else, let's talk about that teaser for Star Trek Picard that came out about a week or so ago. All of you guys have seen it, right?
Yes.
Even John that doesn't watch trailers.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of it?
It was as lacking as information as I would have hoped.
Yeah, it was a true teaser. You know, I talked a couple weeks ago. I said that what they call teasers nowadays are not really teasers; they're just trailers. You know, but this was a true teaser. It didn't tell us. It told us almost nothing. I mean, there was a little bit of information there, a little something to go on, a little morsel, a nugget, but that's about it. Virginia, what'd you think?
I liked it. I liked that we got to see the vineyard. I liked that we kind of got hints of things that might have happened to like lead to Picard leaving Starfleet. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of information, but I liked what they gave us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Scott.
Visually, I thought that it was gorgeous. It was really well put together. It pairs nicely with the promotional image that they've released, showing the Chateau Picard vineyards with the Starfleet Delta worked into the design of the vines. It seems an impractical way to set up a vineyard, but it was visually poetic. Um, as far as the teaser itself, I try to step back and I think of the teaser without thinking of any of the information regarding the story of the series that we've gotten from like interviews with producers and showrunners and whatnot. And then yes, it is very vague and it leaves it very mysterious, and you're wondering what it is. Now, if you go into that teaser knowing what you've heard from various interviews and whatnot, you're able to piece some pretty good guesses together as to what the backbone of the series is going to be, or at least the setup for where he has been and what has gotten him where he is. Some of the questions that the omnipotent voiceover from the teaser ask, you can sort of answer them if you already know what they've told us in interviews. Which I don't have a problem with that. I like it because I like having a slight sense. I don't want it to be a total mystery. So from that standpoint, it gave me pretty much exactly what I needed to really solidify my guess as to what has gone on between Nemesis and this series. So it really got me hyped up for it. And I just like, even though I'm not a big wine drinker, I love seeing bottles of Chateau Picard.
Yeah, I mean, so we see all those shots of the vineyard, and we hear a voiceover of an unnamed woman. Now they've revealed that it's Marion Dungay. She plays on a lot of stuff. She was on Once Upon a Time. She played Ursula on that show, and she says, part of her voiceover says, 15 years ago today, you led us out of the darkness. You commanded the greatest rescue armada in history. Then the unimaginable. So Kurtzman has already said that the events of this are kind of showing the effect that the destruction of Romulus had on Picard, which is what we saw in the 2009 movie, which happened in the Prime universe, not in the Kelvin timeline. But everybody's speculating that they're talking about the comic series. There was a comic series that came out before that movie called Countdown, and in that comic, Picard kind of teams up with Spock and tries to, if I'm remembering it right, he tries to stop the supernova. And what actually happens is Spock creates a black hole that kind of pulls him and Nero into the past. So, and people are speculating that this is what happened on Picard's side after that. The only thing is, I think that they're partially right. They are going to tell a story based off of Picard kind of leading the charge of trying to save Romulus and failing at it, but it's not going to be completely based on Countdown, because in Countdown he was ambassador to Vulcan, and she clearly calls him Admiral in this trailer. So it could be that they're kind of going in the same direction, but they're not going to base it on solely on that comic. So people that think that they've got it all figured out because they read Countdown, 10 years ago. No, you don't have it all figured out. But
Countdown is not canon.
Yeah, no, it's not canon. And that's what people are saying is that they're going to make it canon in this, but they're going to take aspects from it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what Star Wars is doing with all their, extended universe stuff. They canceled all of it out, and they're bringing in what aspects they think will work for their stories now. So,
it's cherry picking from the non-canon materials, this is a term that I picked up in the last episode of Prime Direction that I recorded with Seth Walker, and I'm probably going to start using it more. Soft canon elements that, and Countdown would be a great example of it. It ties in with something that is canon, but it is in itself not canon. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to take aspects of the Countdown comic when they're working the backstory of this series, rather like they did with season 2 of Discovery, and bringing in Control as part of Section 31. And that was in the Section 31 novels. Control was a major aspect of that for multiple books. They didn't use it exactly as it was in the books, but they borrowed some of it and incorporated that into what is now canon. Same thing with number one's first name in
Right.
Discovery. So they will keep Picard's involvement in the rescue effort of Romulus, but they're going to change his rank and position. And I suspect that you will not have Captain Data of the USS Enterprise like you had in Countdown.
I hope not.
They kind of can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so it came out this week. There are rumors online, nothing official, but there are rumors that Jonathan Frakes is going to reprise his role as Riker, and Brent Spiner has agreed to be on the show. Now, they didn't say he's going to be on the show as Data. It very well could be that he's going to voice over a dream that Picard is having or something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that Data is going to be there, because I mean, I know Data would be like 70 years old. Yeah, he'd have to look like a 70-year-old man, and he's an android. So I don't know. But I do like the fact that the series finale of The Next Generation showed us a future where Picard was working in the vineyard, and now it is the future, and Picard is working in the vineyard. That's kind of cool. I wonder if he'll be suffering from aromatic syndrome or something like that. But so they're also doing something different in that the directors are going to take on 2-episode blocks. So Hanley Culpepper is going to direct the first 2 episodes, and then Jonathan Frakes is going to come in and direct the next 2 episodes. And every director that comes after that is going to is going to direct 2-episode blocks of the show. So they'll have 5 directors for this first season, and they'll direct 2 episodes each. Kind of cool. Have any of you guys ever heard of Magic: The Gathering?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever played? Has anybody ever played it?
No.
I may have played a couple of times. My brothers were into it. I'm familiar with it. I know about it. Well, not all about it, but I know what it is.
Rather like Dungeons and Dragons, I know of it, and I tried a little bit, but I was never good at it.
Yeah.
And with Dungeons and Dragons, if you have the wrong group, you can try. I want to try playing Dungeons and Dragons. I never played it before. I'm going to jump in now. I'm going to try to play it for my first time. If you're with the wrong group, then you're never going to play it again, because depending on who's running the game and who's in it with you, they can make it just the worst experience of your life, and you're never going to go back. Magic, in my experience, it's easier to get into it because most people playing Magic were not as elitist about it as people in Dungeons and Dragons, but it just never caught on. This answer was far too long. The answer is yes, I know of it, and I played it a little.
Well, Magic is there's a little less prep required to play Magic, because Magic is just a card game. Mm-hmm. I mean, you build your deck, but you do that over time. But you can buy a deck and sit down and play. I played it a lot in high school. I was really into it. But Joe and Anthony Russo are teaming up with Netflix and Wizards of the Coast, and they're going to adapt Magic: The Gathering for the small screen. Magic has tried to come out with a movie for the last 20 some odd years, and it just hasn't happened. There were rumors for a long time that they were going to do a movie that was going to be set in present day, which I hated that idea, because it's fantasy, it's dragons and wizards and stuff like that. But so they're going to do an animated series on Netflix, and the animation is going to be done by the same people that do like Rick and Morty and Teen Titans Go. But to tell you the truth, I'm looking forward to it. I will watch it when it comes out. But I think they're about 5 or 6 years too late. They should have done this when Game of Thrones was like at its height, and they didn't. But they're coming in and kind of grabbing the tail of Game of Thrones as it heads out. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be an animated series. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, sometimes things like this, when they turn something into an animated series, especially something that's been around for as long as Magic has, you don't know. I mean, for every Castlevania, you get something a lot worse. Castlevania was really good. So
the Netflix animated series generally have a pretty good standing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you're right. You never know, but you never know.
Well,
Uh,
with
given what the property is and who's behind it, and the fact that Netflix basically just kind of does whatever it wants to do,
yeah.
I'm pretty optimistic.
Yeah, Joe and
Honestly.
Anthony Russo, I trust them. After what they did with Infinity War and Endgame, yeah, I'll see what they have. I actually, when I was in high school, I actually started writing a screenplay of Magic the Gathering, and I was 17, and it was the most generic fantasy story that you've ever heard. I mean, in the first scene is a warrior coming home to find that his village has been burned to the ground. How many stories start that way?
Do we know that if the Netflix series is going to be a musical?
They didn't say that.
Can we start that rumor?
Is that something that you want? You want it to
I,
be a musical?
I want the
the more I
rumor.
think about it, yes. I mean, a good musical, not like a jokey musical, like an actual. I could do it. There hasn't like I can't think of a good fantasy action adventure. Like there's musicals for every kind of genre, but they usually, for whatever reason, whoever cracks the code and makes an action fantasy musical, but not like a comedy, but like an actual real musical.
Yeah. Well,
Say it.
with the if they
You know what?
said
I
that
got some work to do, guys. I'll be back.
if they said that the Raimis were behind it, I would think yeah they could do. I don't know. I don't know. John just ducked behind the laptop. I don't know if the Russos are good at musicals. No, like I said, if it was the Raimis, yeah, they can do musicals. They've done it several times. So,
Well,
did you guys go ahead?
The Russos are rather like Netflix in that they can do pretty much whatever they want.
Yeah,
At this point,
they
you know,
write their own ticket. Yeah,
with Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, they never have to work a day in their life ever again.
yeah,
And if they
yeah,
do, it's going to be because they want to do something.
yeah. And they're stepping away from Marvel for a while. And they said in the interview, we're walking away from Marvel for a while. And everybody jumped in and said they're never going to do Marvel again. They didn't say they're never going to do Marvel again. They said they're going to do something away from Marvel for a while. Let Marvel start the next phase of their stuff on their own. But did you guys watch Good Omens this week?
I watched the first episode. I
Yep,
haven't been
same
able
here.
to watch more.
I
Did
haven't
you
watched it yet.
did you like what you saw?
I did. It's very like it could not have been more faithful to the book.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's a good thing, but there's definitely a very British flavor to it. And my palate, uh, I don't know. I mean, you can tell the Terry Pratchett. Like, I can't remember. I think actually it was on Netflix. I think they did like a Discworld. There were a couple of movies from his Discworld series that I'm sure were on BBC first. And it's it. I love Monty Python, but that excessively narrated, say the same thing five different ways in moderation. I
See, I
think
like that. I like that stuff.
I've
But
I,
I
I've only
I
I've
grew
only
up.
seen the first episode, so I can't say that it's too much. But I'm worried that it will be too much as I continue to watch. But for right now, I enjoy the series, and they nailed like everything looks the way it should. Everything they got the perfect. They cast the perfect actors. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
always a
got a
fan of Neil
very
Gaiman.
kind of Hitchhiker's Guide feel to it, except dealing with religious symbols instead of aliens and space and stuff like that. But And you're right.
Alien
It's been a very long time since I read that book, but from what I remember, yeah, it's pretty faithful, and it's pretty faithful to the book all the way through. I watched all 6 episodes. So
Actually, I started listening to the audiobook in preparation for watching this because I realized a couple of years ago I've actually never read Good Omens, so I was like, you know, racing to get it done, to get the book done before I saw the show, which I did, barely, I guess. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see.
I really liked Michael Sheen's performance, but David Tennant did really well as also. But I've seen him play bad before. You know, he's kind of, and it's funny because he's playing a demon in this, but he's playing kind of a less evil version of the character that he played in Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
But Michael Sheen, his character that I'm not sure I can pronounce his name, Aziraphale.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job. But it's kind of it's a really smart series. And they take a lot of stuff that's based in like religious dogma and stuff, and then they create this sandbox. If you can imagine that heaven and hell are basically businesses that don't hate each other, they're only fighting this war because it's written down that they have to, you know. So, but it's really interesting. I liked it, but I just wanted to bring that up. I do recommend it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Virginia, go watch it. Not right now. Not right now. When the show is over, go watch it.
I watched the first episode of the season this afternoon because you had told me that you were watching it and we'd probably be discussing it. So I wanted to have at least a little bit of it under my belt to be in the conversation. Good Omens is one of those books that I've known about forever, and my friends back in school loved the book and said that everyone should absolutely read it. And it's just one of those books that I never got around to reading. And I've always felt bad about that, especially considering the fact that while I like Terry Pratchett and I like his work, I haven't read very much of it. But Neil Gaiman is the author of my number one favorite book, and he is in my, I'd say, probably top 3 of favorite authors, if not on the top of that list.
Same.
And the Castlevania animated series on Netflix we were talking about, written by another one of my top 3 favorite authors. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why that Castlevania animated series is so good. But with Neil Gaiman, I hadn't read Good Omens, so I felt bad about that. So I knew I was going to watch this series at some point. And today I watched the first episode, and if they hadn't put in the credits that it was written by Neil Gaiman, I would have known anyway. It is very, very much his style, all the way through the dialogue, the narration, everything. You can tell that he was the one that wrote the book, and with the adapting it for the screen, you can tell that no one else put their hands on it. He brought it directly from the book to the screen, and you can hear it. And on top of that, it was visually, that first episode was gorgeous. I'm looking forward to the rest of it to see how it unfolds, especially since I'm not familiar with the story. So I think that's going to be a fun time.
It's kind of a more higher brow version of Dogma, the Kevin Smith movie. But yeah.
John, do we have to talk about Kevin Smith a little bit? I saw that look on your face.
No, I was debating the analogy. I was like, yeah, I'll go with that.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, just because they're playing with the same.
No,
they're playing with the same action figures, you know. And they do this weird thing where, which they can do this on shows that are on Prime and on Netflix and stuff, where the opening credits don't really mean anything, because they show, every show now has like a preamble before the opening credits, a stinger or teaser or whatever, and then you see the opening credits. Episode 3, the stinger was 30 minutes. I forgot that they hadn't even shown the opening credits yet. we were 30 minutes into the show. They showed the opening credits, and then the show was only 27 minutes after the credits. So they show the opening credits, and there's less time after the credits than there were before.
I like it.
So yeah,
I think that one's new for me. I don't think I've seen one that's quite that severe. I mean, I want to say the season finale of Discovery for season 2, there was a lot of time before the credits, if I remember correctly. And I think we checked and it was like 15 minutes into the episode before we got the credits. But to have most of your episode already done before the opening credits, they're doing that on purpose. They're just trying to mess with us at this point.
Yeah, because I mean they kind of follow a pattern where these characters have been around for thousands of years. So they kind of show some stuff that had some flashbacks and things. Every episode kind of uses that time before the credits to do some flashbacks and stuff. And then after the credits, you're in the story in modern times. Well, at that particular episode, most of the story was the flashbacks that took place before it. And I guess they just didn't want to break that up with the credits. So they just showed all of that stuff. And then credits. You know, and it's 30 minutes into the show and the credits start. I'm like, that's weird. You know.
One thing before we move on, one thing I wanted to say about the first episode, and maybe I'm the only one that would find this noteworthy, but it's something that caught my attention while I was watching it. And the beginning of the episode takes us back to the Garden of Eden, and the story of Adam and Eve, the serpent, and the apple. And one small aspect of that scene that I enjoyed was the fact that without calling any particular attention to it at all, Adam and Eve were portrayed by 2 black actors, and they didn't make a thing out of it. And it makes sense. That's the way it should be. But I was retroactively disappointed in myself because when I was watching the episode and I saw, oh, it's a black man and black woman. Well, of course they would be black, and I had never stopped to think about that before. Think about Adam and Eve, and you picture what you've seen in, contemporary art that is made by white people for white people, and you don't stop to consider how that is just as wrong as all those depictions of Jesus as being tall,
long-haired white guy.
Right. Tall, pale white guy. And you start to realize now, with Jesus, that is an inaccurate representation, but you don't go further than that to think about Adam and Eve. So when you see it in this show, it kind of, shook me out of my, I guess one might call it complacency for a second. And I said, wow, that's okay. It's not weird. It's not weird at all. It actually makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious whether or not there's been any sort of like online outcry or hate. Are people like, shouting about those SJWs? Damn it. Because they are.
Neil Gaiman got a lot of tweets after the first episode of people saying, I'm not watching this show anymore. And I don't know how much of it was because people get offended anytime that you fictionalize characters from the Bible. But I'm pretty sure a lot of it had to do with the fact that they showed Adam and Eve and they were black. But I got news for you. You go back, you look at just about any Bible that has illustrations in it, and all of the illustrations are wrong because it makes it look like just white people were all over the entire earth for all of human history. And it's just not. I mean, Jesus was in the Middle East, so he was Middle Eastern. He wasn't a long-haired white dude that looked like he should be drumming for a heavy metal band or something,
And if I'm not much mistaken, anthropology has concluded that Africa was the seat of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Garden of Eden, they believe, was in northern Africa, if I remember that correctly. So, all right. To finish up that thought, Neil Gaiman tweeted that whenever people come on his Twitter and leave him messages like that, and he copied the message, and he said it makes bad online reviews not look so bad. Just leave a review. Don't write me. So, all right, we're going to do frequently unasked questions. and this is something that we've done a couple of times in the past. It's called Frequently Unasked Questions because the FAQ section of most websites have questions that a lot of people have asked, and they answer them all in one place so that you can look. These are questions that nobody has asked us. These are just questions that I have scoured the internet and I found these questions, and we're just going to answer them. It gives us a chance to take a break from just talking about nothing but TV and movies, even though a lot of these are TV and movie related. Uh, but we talk about some other things and let the audience kind of get to know us on a deeper level. So if you had access to a holodeck and you could spend the day as a character in any kind of story that you wanted, what would it be? And when I say in any kind of story, I don't mean specifically what movie would you want to be in or whatever. Just if you could be in a brand new story, but you pick the genre, what do you think you would want to spend the day in?
Now, I'm going to assume this is a fully functional holodeck. Not the kind where I get trapped or get converted into
all the safety protocols are all working. Yeah, you're not going to get shot. You're not going to get beheaded or anything like that. So,
and your nemesis is not going to take over the holodeck, and by extension, your vessel.
If you're crossing the Red Sea,
by my nemesis you mean Vic.
The water is not going to come rushing in on you at the last minute. When that happens, program will end. You'll be fine. So
okay. Well, I'll go first. I mean, I'd bounce around a few. I'd probably have some sort of Dungeons and Dragons scenario. I imagine I would be the archer, and I would definitely do some kind of anime, manga, pilot, big giant robot fighting type thing, where I'd probably be the hero.
As opposed to the villain.
Yeah. As opposed to the villain. Those are the two that kind of come to mind. Like if I could, have a fully immersive 3D fantasy scenario, it'd be a Dungeons and Dragons type thing. It'd be probably a giant robot thing.
Okay. All right. What about you, Virginia?
Well, I was thinking maybe historical fiction, but then I'm like, I like indoor plumbing. So, I don't know. If all the safeties are on and everything, then I think I'd kind of want to do an action adventure, maybe Die Hard sort of situation, but on level 1 difficulty because I'm not in good shape. So I think that's what I would go. That would be fun.
You could be John McClane's sidekick. And
no, I would be John McClane. He would be my sidekick.
And just make him do all the, you jump over that.
Jane McClane, that's me.
There you go. What about you, Scott?
Well, I like Virginia's idea of a Die Hard type story, and I absolutely feel you with what you say about not being in shape. So make it level 1, which makes me think that it could double as an entertainment story and a workout program.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Die Hard takes place in Nakatomi Tower, and he's trying to work his way up the building. So you take that and you go with the more with perhaps the more logical tower-based story, which for me would be Dread, starring Carl Urban, where they're really starting from the bottom and having to work their way up. So a tower-based action adventure where the floors get increasingly more difficult, which forces you to increase your endurance and your strength. So that's how you know how far you're progressing in your exercise program is, what floor you're getting to. So that could be a lot of fun. I think it would still be my second choice, because it almost feels like too easy a pick, because it's almost entirely ready-made. But I would have to steal Dr. Bashir's secret agent program. And
Really?
I would want to do the Bond style spy story, because you got
Yeah.
it's got a little bit of everything. It's got the action, it's got the intrigue, it's got the romance, if you can call it that. It's not really romance, but you get it. It's still going to be fun. I don't know that it would have to be set in the same time period. I don't know if I need like 60s, 70s Bond style like technology and vehicles. It can go ahead and be a modern day spy story, but
Mhm.
that's one of those things that it would be fun to, play it fake, knowing that I would almost certainly fail miserably as a spy. I mean, I like to think that I can, fake it in a conversation when I need to, but when failing to fake it properly means that a Saudi prince is going to dismember you, okay, maybe I don't trust myself that much. So let's have a story that's designed to let you do better than you actually would. Plus, I might luck out, and at the end of the story, I get to face off against Avery Brooks playing a scenery chewing villain, which is never a bad time.
True. I think I would pick a 1930s style detective story along the lines of the Maltese Falcon, the Big Sleep, or something like that. Because I think that would be fun. You're the smartest guy in the room. Um, you always, I mean, you're gonna figure it out. You're going to. I mean, those guys never not don't solve the case. They always solve the case. And you would assume that if you're in a holodeck program, that even if you have trouble finishing the story that you're in, that it would kind of rewrite itself to kind of help you along.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the escape room, you ask for a hint, kind of thing.
Yeah, send you more characters to tell you which way to go and all that kind of stuff. So
Is it the secret agent program that would lend itself very well to an escape room aspect as well? So
yeah,
you also get that. You get the hand-to-hand fights, you get the gun fights, you get the escape room, you get the girl at the end of it, you get gadgets, you get okay, now I really want this to happen.
See, I encourage and support all of your choices, but no, I'm not doing any of those. I don't
you know,
want I don't want I don't want to solve a mystery. I don't want like to shoot a bunch of bad guys. I don't know. Pass. I want a quest. I want um an epic adventure. I want something that regular people can't do. I don't want to be a gumshoe. I want to be I want to be 100 feet tall and a big
yeah,
I,
fantasy.
I,
Yeah,
I get that.
tank.
Now that you word it that way, I understand that a lot more. To take advantage of to take full advantage of the holodeck scenario, you want to do something that is literally impossible.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't exist is what you want to be. Spies, they're actually real. Detectives, they're real. Um, or one person against an army, it can be real. These are all things that the components exist in the real world. But your idea of the epic quest with magic and giants, you can't put that together without that type of scenario.
And also, I don't want to think that much. I don't want to like. And you guys know me. Like I like solving puzzles. I like cracking codes, but I don't want that to be the whole time. I want to solve a puzzle to open the door, so that I can go fight the dragon or whatever. I want to I want to figure out the riddle so I can get across the bridge. But like as an overarching plot to solve it, like no, I don't
yeah.
know. I want to fly around on fairy wings.
If you
I
if you
can
could
find
have if you could have access to any piece of fictional technology and use it any way that you want, what would that technology be and what would you use it for?
I went first last time. I'll let somebody else go.
Virginia, you go first.
So, any fictional technology?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a really good question. I need more time to think.
Okay, all right. What's you, Scott? You got one?
There's there are so many options, and I try to limit myself to just Star Trek because that's that's simple. There's plenty of technology in Star Trek that you can grab and repurpose. And it would take me far too long to decide on something if I threw in like how about magic based technology from other franchises. Um, so stick with Star Trek and make it easy. Most people would say uh, you know transporters, but
Nope.
that's pretty single use.
That's
Is
a
it
suicide booth.
just to get from one place to another? That I need something that's more versatile. I've always thought that a replicator would be almost too powerful because it's almost a solve all your problems machine. But I guess when you start to think about it, there's nothing wrong with that. I would like a machine that can solve all my problems. Because, you know what? I need to go to the store. Wait, no, I don't. Tap, tap, tap. Hey, look, I got all my groceries.
Well, it could be
Oh,
specifically a food replicator because I think that the replicators in the individual quarters are specifically food replicators. And if you want to replicate another kind of matter, you have to go to a more central location in the ship or on the station or something like that. That's why they always showed them like not always, but there's a couple of episodes of TNG where they actually show them going to the ship's like little store, and it's just a little panel, and they're sharing a console looking for a gift for someone or something like that.
mhm.
But I think
Yeah,
that the
that was in
replicators in their
Data's day.
quarters, yeah, I
Mhm.
think that the replicators that are in their quarters are specifically designed for food. Now, if Rick's listening, he's probably no, they're not. But
She totally replicated her uniform.
yeah,
Now, even if in TNG, even if those were just uh, food replicators, just a little bit of rewiring behind the panel, and now it's more than just a food replicator. So I think that's a silly limitation to put on it. Um, and I would think if you go to the ship stores like Data and Worf looking for a wedding present for uh, Keiko and Miles, if they wanted to replicate some food there, I think they probably could. So we'll just say a general replicator. That way, hey, when the pump under my laundry sink breaks, I don't have to wait 3 weeks for the thing to get delivered and then not get the notification that it's arrived. I can just hit a couple buttons. Hey, look, I that pump is here. Now I can
yeah.
replace it. And if you're just replicating stuff, using converting matter to energy to matter again, I don't have to necessarily go out and spend a whole bunch of money. I can just I can bring in the clippings from my yard, or empty the dumpster into the bin, which will convert that matter into energy. So that can help save a little bit of money.
I think that I would choose a vortex manipulator from Doctor Who because it's time travel without having a big time machine that you have to keep up with. you know,
Doesn't it like give
uh,
you cancer or something?
it can they say in the show that it can kill you if you consistently like use it all the time. So I would go places where I was gonna plan on being there for a while. I wouldn't jump to 1950 just to have lunch at a cafe and then come back. I'd stay there for a few days or something like that. So uh, yeah, that would be the one that I would pick. Yeah, time travel without having to use a DeLorean or a TARDIS or something like that.
Well, when
And
Scott mentioned versatility, I thought, where did Sean go? That's not what I thought, but um, sonic screwdriver works on everything except wood. Apparently, gives you all kinds of information about everything. Works
Mm-hmm.
to pick locks. Very useful. Very versatile. Also thought of replicators, but since Scott already talked about it, I'll say sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, sonic screwdriver is kind of like it's a tricorder, and it's kind of a phaser because it's a magic wand. That's what it is.
Pretty
It's a
much.
magic wand. you
mhm.
know. What about you, John?
You're right. A sonic screwdriver is a magic wand, which is why it was the thing I almost said 1 second after you asked me. Um, I am not going to change my answer. I'm going to stick with the sonic screwdriver. But this is what I almost said. I would have a sonic screwdriver. I would use it to telepathically, so that people would hear the background music soundtrack of their lives.
That would be
So,
cool.
so like, if you're in the grocery store and you've got like, 2 minutes to make it before the store closes, you hear the action. Dun, 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 dun. I would also have a side business where I use it to remove earworms from people, the songs that are stuck in your head. Give me $5, I'll remove it.
Do you hear other people's soundtracks as well?
I can.
Because that way they would kind of drown each other out. And if you went in the grocery store, if you went to Disney World, well, you would hear nothing but just music.
You hear the sound that is most relevant to your immediate vicinity. So if you see somebody running past you, everybody's going to be looking at that somebody, and so everyone hears the action music for that guy.
Ah.
But if you're just alone, in the grocery aisle, you'll hear whatever you need to be hearing at that moment.
Like the music that they're already playing.
Maybe, or maybe there's some internal conflict. Maybe you're daydreaming about a life on the beach. Who knows?
What is the weirdest food you've ever eaten? I can answer mine and let you guys have a chance.
You mean something prepared as food, or something that I ate by accident?
Food.
Okay.
Something prepared to be something that was meant to be eaten, and not like you made a mud cake when you were 4 and you decided to take a bite or something like that.
All right.
So I went to Gatlinburg, which is kind of the Las Vegas of the South, the money pit of the South. And there was a store there that was selling dehydrated insects of all kinds of flavors. Like you could buy a lollipop that had a scorpion suspended inside, and candied scorpions, that kind of stuff. And my son actually is the one that bought it, but he bought 2 packs. He bought a pack of nacho cheese flavored grasshoppers.
How old was he?
Well, at the time he was probably 15.
Okay.
And he bought a pack of ranch flavored grasshoppers. And I ate one of the ranch flavored grasshoppers, and it tasted like a ranch Dorito, just with pieces that kind of hang around in your mouth after you're done eating. You need something to drink when you're done, because the legs kind of stick around. But wasn't too bad. I mean, it's a nice, light little snack. What about you guys?
I mean, I don't. It's not especially exotic, I guess, but I've had alligator like once or twice.
Yeah, I've had alligator a couple of times.
I don't know that.
Tastes like chicken. A
Very,
little chewier.
Very
Actually,
chewy. Yeah, very,
it tastes
very chewy.
more like people say it tastes like chicken. It actually tastes more like pork to me, because it just had a little bit more of that consistency. But
yeah, I don't know that I don't typically. I don't really use a lot of exotic ingredients. Like I'll be very experimental in the kitchen as far as mixing flavors and stuff. But I mean, I haven't eaten that I know of squirrel or anything like that.
what about you, Scott? You got one?
I realize in thinking about this question that I apparently have not been all that adventurous in my eating habits in my life, because not a whole lot comes to mind. Now, I've seen a few places that sell the insects, the candied insects like you were talking about. There's a place about a 2-hour drive from here, called Frankenmuth. It's like a Dutch German village style place. It's fairly touristy, but they got a lot of neat shops to go check out, and some of them will have prepackaged, very commercialized, candy covered insects. But I've never really been driven to try them. I tried to convince my stepson to buy some and eat them, but he wouldn't do it. I can't imagine why. And I'm trying to think of like the two times that we've been to Disney World. Did I eat anything really, far out or exciting? No.
Dole Whip. Yeah.
Just, nicely put together flavors, but nothing that was really out of the ordinary. And I think the best that I can come up with is when I was in Washington State. I had taken a trip out to Seattle, and I went to a sushi place, and someone had ordered, for the table to share, an order of sea urchin, which I never tried it myself before. And I know I guess it's fairly common thing to get in like a sushi restaurant, but it's not something that I had ever tried, and I'm not going to again.
And not good.
Did not enjoy it. I'm sure that if that's the sort of thing you're into, then it was probably very well prepared and people would really like it. But it was not my thing. I don't know if it was made in a special or particular way, but the texture was just no good at all. I found myself having difficulty eating anything else after that because it was that unappetizing. I put it in my mouth. I forced myself to actually eat it rather than eject it. And I proceeded with the rest of the meal quite a bit slower.
What about you, Virginia? You got any?
Well, I'm a really picky eater, and I'm also not very adventurous, but I've eaten shark before, and my family is big hunters, so I've eaten like deer and dove and wild hog and stuff like that.
How was
But
the shark?
it just tasted fishy. This is like 30 years ago, so I don't really remember. But yeah, honestly, I'm a really picky eater, so I don't eat weird things usually voluntarily.
There's a tourist trap if you're driving back from Florida into Alabama. I can't remember the name of it. It's just a little roadside shop where you can stop and you can buy fudge and you can buy your last minute chance to buy some seashells, taxidermied alligator heads, stuff like that. And they have about 4,000 different kinds of jerky. And they're all...
I've been to that stuff.
Yeah. They're all different animals. Now, they're all mixed with beef because there's a lot of animals that it's really hard to make jerky that'll stay together and be consistent and everything. So they mix it with beef before they go through the jerky making process. But I did pick up a few because my son was into, trying all that kind of stuff. So I picked up, like ostrich and I don't know, camel. I don't know. It's just stuff like that. But they all tasted the same.
Yeah.
I was convinced afterwards that they just made beef jerky and just put different packages on them.
Yeah.
So
that's my working theory.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't convince my son of that. Oh yeah, I'm eating ostrich. Okay. What movie have you ever pretended to like, even though you really hated it? And I'll answer this one first too, to give you guys a chance to think for a second. But when I was in high school, I had a group of friends that we would get together on the weekends and we would watch movies and we would play video games and stuff like that. And all of them really liked the movie Darkman with Leslie Nielsen.
Come on now.
I could not stand that movie.
Wait. You say Darkman with Leslie Nielsen?
I mean, not Leslie Nielsen, Liam Neeson. I get those names mixed up almost
I'm like, I want to see that one.
Leslie Nielsen was great in Taken. You remember that?
Yeah.
But no,
That's an alternate reality I want to live in.
Yeah.
and it may have just been the age that I just didn't care for it when I was 13. I don't know. I haven't watched it since then, so I couldn't tell you if I would like it now.
See, that's
Probably
surprising
not.
to me because it is the kind of over the top, crazy ass action movie that you seem to enjoy.
Yeah, now
I'm surprised.
I'm not sure if I don't know what it was. Just back then, I didn't like it. I think it was not necessarily that I didn't like the movie, because I think it was more that they wanted to watch it every weekend. Like that was the movie to watch. So I may have just gotten tired of it, and I'm just remembering it differently. But I do know that we had kind of grown, because it was a few years later before Darkman 2 came out, so we never really we didn't really get together to watch Darkman 2 The Return of Durant. But I did watch it on my own later, and it's not good. And then the third one was called Die Darkman Die, so that tells you what kind of movie it probably was.
Oddly enough, not everyone knows this, but Die Darkman Die was intended to be the second one, and The Return of Durant was intended to be the third one. They just got released out of order, and the
Oh,
fact
really?
that it doesn't really make a difference tells you
Yeah.
how it tells you how much thought and planning they were putting into those movies.
What about you guys? Somebody want to go next?
The Phantom Menace.
Oh.
You pretended to like it.
I think the best I can say is, rather than pretending to like it, I worked hard to convince myself that I liked it before I inevitably had to admit, no, this movie sucks.
That was me. Because when I remember when I first watched it, I liked it, but not as much as I let on that I liked it. Because and John will tell you, because we were hanging, this was about the time that we were hanging out, because we went and saw that movie together.
Yeah.
Up until the time that they released that movie, I was all about Phantom Menace. Oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And then it was over. Sean, how'd you like it? Oh, it was great. It was awesome. But you know, when the opening crawl is talking about trade negotiations and stuff like that, you're like, no, it's something's off on this a little bit, you know. But I went back and saw it a few years ago. They re-released it in 3D, and I took my son to see it because he had never seen a Star Wars movie in on the big screen. And I remember this movie just isn't flowing right. The story is not. I don't know. There's some pacing issues here. Yeah. What about you, John?
See, I can't really think of a movie that I said that I liked that I didn't like, but it's more. I can think of a couple of movies that are like touchstone films for my generation, and because I am the age that I am, I'm supposed to love this movie, but I don't. There's a couple, like first and foremost, actually there's three. First and foremost is Hook. I loved everybody involved with Hook. I love the Peter Pan story. I thought Hook was a terrible movie. And if I meet anybody who was in the film, I will tell them that I thought, I'm a big fan of all of your work. I mean, I'm not going to say, except for that one thing you did that sucked. But, I mean, I respect it for what it just did not come together for me. Like, I thought the plot was a bad idea. And the acting was not what I would have wanted.
Yeah.
That same vein, full of people that I respect, and by all rights, I should love this movie, but I don't. Labyrinth.
I've never seen it.
Man.
You've never seen Labyrinth?
No,
Wait,
I've
you've
never
never
watched it.
I
Wait,
gotta
you-
schedule you in for a viewing.
Okay.
And I mean, anyone who has listened to me knows I am all about the Henson. Like he's straight up one of my heroes. and I love David Bowie, and I love the idea. Labyrinth to me was about an hour and a half longer than it needed to be. I don't even know how long the movie was. I'm assuming it was probably less than an hour and a half, but like it was like it went nowhere. Like it literally went around the world to go nowhere. Okay, well that looks cool, I guess, but
That's kind
but
of like on that same vein. That just you talking about Labyrinth made me remember one that when I was in the this is probably the fourth grade. Um, the Dark Crystal was huge in my class. They wanted to show us that movie every week. And there was a book version that was in the library that was the waiting list was a mile long. And I did not like that movie.
have you
It
watched it
looks great.
since?
It looks great. Or it looked great when I was 9. No, I haven't watched it
It's still
recently.
actually the visuals actually still hold up.
And I know that they've got
Yeah.
a sequel series coming to Netflix about it, so I'll probably watch it again soon. But I just remember as a kid, oh, we're gonna watch this again.
I think you just get bored of watching.
That may be
That
it.
seems to be a
That may be
theme.
it. When I was a kid, and I really don't do it now. There was a time when there were certain movies that I could watch every weekend. Now there are some movies that I watch probably about once a year, like the Godfather series. I watch about once a year, things like that. But I don't watch things over and over and over again anymore. I've only got so many years left, man. I'm about halfway there. So
Scott.
I think Scott already. Virginia, it's your turn.
Oh, sorry.
So I think this kind of like one of my friends told me when Napoleon Dynamite first came out, oh, come over, watch it, you'll love it. I still don't know what that movie was about.
I
But
love that movie.
she loved it so much. I was like, oh yeah, it was good. And then I went home and I'm like, I don't think I'll ever watch that movie again. It was just not for me. Not necessarily good or bad. I just don't think I was the target audience for it. So
I'm right there with you. On that.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I don't know, and I cannot tell you why, because it's not a movie that I tell people that they need to watch because I know that that's just a hit or miss movie. Some people love it and some people just don't get it, but it hits me. I laugh my tail off every time I watch it. I think it's hilarious.
I wanted to like it for her sake. I just didn't.
Some of it is just because some of the things that Napoleon says. Now, if you've ever raised a boy, some of the things that Napoleon says and the sounds that he makes are things that you will hear from a son. You will hear, God. You will hear that. And when I heard that as I was watching it, because my son was at the time, how old was Austin when we first watched Napoleon Dynamite, Jerry? Probably about 10. Yeah, something like that. So I had heard that. God, Tina, come get some ham. Now, and they did an animated series that lasted about 3 episodes, and I thought it was funny, but evidently the rest of America didn't, so it disappeared. But all right, you guys have any more? I'm gonna move over to we're gonna play Sleep in a Bucket for the last 10-15 minutes that we have on the show.
What is that?
That I think you've played it before. It's basically Would You Rather.
Oh,
It's
okay.
called Sleep in a Bucket because it's like, would you rather sleep in a bucket or something else? And what it is a card game, and I pull 2 cards, and I ask you, would you rather do one or would you rather do the other? And what we'll do is instead of me just asking these and then just everybody jumping on, I'll go around and ask each one of you, would you rather do this or this? Okay. And they're really silly, and some of them are kind of adult, but Would you rather be a kindergarten teacher, but all of your students have knives, or ride a sexually frustrated mini donkey as your one form of transportation?
Question.
I'll go to you first, John.
Point of order. When you say sexually frustrated donkey, how does that affect the ride?
They all the information that I have is on this card.
I mean,
so
in theory, that could make it go faster, right?
You can fill in all the blanks you want on that card.
I can convince it that there's, maybe a lady friend waiting at the destination. Maybe it goes faster.
Lady donkey.
I'm sorry, I fixated on the donkey. What was the other choice?
You're a kindergarten teacher, but all of your students have knives.
I'd go with the donkey. Because even if the students even if they weren't malicious, they're kindergartners, so they could hurt themselves or others or me by accident with knives. I'll go with just for the public good. I don't want a bunch of kindergartners to have knives. I'll go with the donkey.
What about you, Virginia?
Could I get safety covers for the knives for the kindergartners?
I'm sorry, they cut the bunding. They cut the funding.
Have like a knife bucket where everybody walks in and they turn in their knives, and then they get to take them home at the end of the day and stab their siblings instead of me or whatever.
But if they put them in the bucket, then they don't have knives.
Well, they still have them.
They just
they
had
them. They had them, but now they don't.
You have a car, even if you're not in it. You still have it. Sean said we could fill in the blanks. It doesn't say have them on their person.
Yeah. This is just a conversation. So.
I mean, it's 10 miles just to work one way. I don't want to ride a donkey for that long. I'll take my chances with the children. Hopefully, it's a small class with very pocket knives.
If he's a sexually frustrated donkey, he'll probably be at a full gallop, so it probably won't take very long.
True.
But he is a sexually frustrated mini donkey. I don't know exactly what a mini donkey is.
His legs are shorter.
So it's like a Shetland pony or something. I saw one of those the other day. They're very small. They're like basically a big dog. So you're riding a big dog to work. A sexually frustrated big dog. What about you, Scott?
Much as I wouldn't love riding a donkey of any stripe to work or really to anywhere, I think that we need to acknowledge the fact that I would be, and my wife is a teacher right now. She teaches preschool, so she has heard me say on many occasions that I would not be good at that job. Even if they were unarmed, I would be no good. So this would not make the situation better. So I think for the good of everyone involved, I should probably choose the mini donkey, because any way that I try to look at or analyze the teaching kindergarten with armed students scenario, it's all going to sound bad, really bad. So donkey.
And you ride the donkey, and maybe on the way to work you stop at the stable and just let him have a few minutes. Things are okay.
I was really fine just ignoring that whole sexually frustrated aspect from the card, but you really seem focused on
it. Plus, I can telecommute if I really needed to, so it's fine.
Yeah, okay. All right. Would you rather have to make a balloon animal for every person that you meet, or every minute you need to tell everyone what time it is? It's 3:07. It's 3:08.
No, the balloons.
Balloons,
drive
definitely.
Me insane.
I just avoid people, so I wouldn't have to make that many.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. If you're telling the time every minute, then you're just that annoying guy that tells the time every minute. If you have to make a balloon animal for everyone that you meet, not only do they have something tangible, something pleasant that they can take away from the experience, but you'll get pretty good at it if you have to make one for everybody. Practice makes near perfect. You're going to get, pretty talented at making balloon animals, and then you can start charging people for it.
Plus, again, you didn't specify, so my balloon animal could just be a snake.
I like that thinking.
Touche.
Everyone gets a snake.
All right. I'm trying to find. Would you rather find a real unicorn, but you accidentally ran over it with your SUV,
Oh.
or you have to lick everything before you touch it?
Unicorn? Sorry.
Just because you ran over it doesn't mean it necessarily died, right? It's a unicorn. It's
Yeah,
magical.
it doesn't say it's dead. It doesn't say it's dead.
I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that I didn't kill the unicorn when I hit it.
Even if it's dead, it's still valuable to science. They can
True.
still do a thing.
Even if it's dead, I'm sure I can find a way to completely forget about the entire incident within the week. So I'll just carry on with my life as normal.
You want to run over a unicorn?
There's no way I'm licking anything.
Oh, she said there's no way I'm licking anything. This one has a lot of writing on it, so would you rather eat all of your meals off of Vin Diesel's head, or you collect dolls? One day they all come to life, but there's a catch. They're all being controlled by Russian satellites. They're now live dolls that are holding you captive in your own home. Your family thinks you're dead. You're fired from your job. They torture you, trying to extract information on the United States nuclear program. Frustrated, the Russian spy dolls take your life and you die on the floor. I'd rather eat my nails off Vin Diesel's head.
I mean, he's not a bad-looking guy. I wouldn't mind seeing him every time I need to eat a meal.
And maybe he would say, "I'm Groot" the whole time. That would be fun.
I'm just
John?
confused. I don't understand.
I know that one.
I don't understand what happened.
That one was that's probably the most random card in the deck. I've done that one before. Hold on. I've done all of these before.
I mean, okay, so
Would
dolls come to life and they torture me for information I don't have
until you die?
And you lose your job. And you lose your family.
Do I want to be killed by Russian dolls or eat off Vin Diesel's head? I guess I'll eat off his head.
Yeah.
And from all reports, Vin Diesel is a really big geek and a huge D&D player. So we could probably have some decent conversations with him. You know what? That could be its own podcast. Sure. Just conversations with Vin Diesel while you're eating a meal off the top.
You call it Off the Dome with Vin Diesel.
Would you rather bathe every morning with a fire hose, or have Martha Stewart baste you like a turkey?
Martha Stewart, she's hot. Oh wait, was that not the implication? Am I reading too much into it?
You can read anything into it you want. John, Virginia, want to be basted like a turkey by Martha Stewart?
No, I'm good. I'll go with the fire hose.
That's gonna be very painful.
Every morning.
Have you ever seen a fire hose like up close when it's being used?
No.
That my dad was a fireman for 20 some odd years when I was a kid, and fire hoses are, if you get hit by a fire hose, it's going to leave a mark. I mean, it's like getting hit with a baseball bat.
Yeah, you're thinking like a garden hose. A fire hose, I mean, you've seen the civil rights footage. It will blast you down the street.
Yeah.
Damn it, Martha Stewart. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of pain. So I would have to endure the Martha Stewart thing only because I don't want my daily shower to be debilitating. My dad used to be a volunteer firefighter, so I know a little bit about how the fire hoses work. And if nothing else, we've all seen UHF. We've seen
Yeah.
we've
You
seen
get
the
the
kid
drink
who
from the fire hose.
yeah, the kid who found the marble in the oatmeal, so he gets drink from the fire hose, and it just square in the face. One of the funnier shots in that movie.
Yeah.
That kid just opened it, bam! He goes flying 15 feet back after getting just absolutely nailed in the face with a fire hose. That's nope.
Now, my understanding of baste you like a turkey, she's not actually going to cook me. She's just
No, you're just being basted.
yeah, that's fine.
Just just
Fine.
squirting the juices all over you.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I
I'm
take
gonna-
a shower immediately
like
after
a regular
without a
weekend.
fire hose?
Yeah, you're gonna be kind of covered in melted butter and stuff. So yeah, you're gonna want to shower pretty soon.
Well, I think if we ask her nicely, then perhaps she can baste us with warm soapy water. So that way, instead of a fire hose, it's a basting, and we're still getting clean.
Okay, I'm gonna do two more. Would you rather do ecstasy before any family gathering,
Yes.
or have Paris
Or?
Hilton narrate your life?
Oh.
You can
I
replace
stand by my answer.
you can replace ecstasy with arsenic, and I'll still pick it. That's how much I don't want Paris Hilton associated with my life in any way.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a question.
That's hot. That's hot.
On this Paris Hilton narration, like, do I have to hear it, or is it like
John puts way too much thought into that.
I'm just?
These are valid questions.
This is how my mind works. You can't just ask me a
Well,
hypothetical.
yeah, I mean,
question
if
and run
she's
with it.
narrating your life, yeah, you hear the
Or
narration.
is it like? I mean, but Morgan, like the Penguins don't hear Morgan Freeman.
You're probably the only one that hears it.
If
You
I'm the
can
only
use
one
your
who
sonic screwdriver
maybe
for the background narration.
But see, but here's the thing too. I might find that hilarious. Like I could
I
imagine.
find it hilarious for one day, not for the rest of my
But see,
life.
but then I would just do shit. I guess I know myself. I would just do shit just to make her sit there. Well, oh my God, what is he doing? I don't know. But I would just do ridiculous stuff just so she would have to narrate it. There's some entertainment value in that. I think I might go with the Paris Hilton. Plus, my body is a temple.
What was the other one? I've forgotten. I've already put the card up. What was the other one?
Do
Ecstasy
Doing
before
ecstasy.
family gatherings.
Yeah.
I think I'd do that. I would do that, and I would have my wife record it so that I could watch it later.
I mean, honestly, I can't even think of what Paris Hilton sounds. I don't know if I've ever.
She says that's hot. That's what she says all the time. That's hot.
That would be hilarious. I'm going for that. I'm doing it.
Okay, this is the last one.
Allowing her to narrate my life, if anyone else could hear it, then it might be misconstrued as a tacit endorsement of Paris Hilton. And that is unacceptable. So,
yeah.
You did not hear in all of her works.
All right, this is the last one. Would you rather have everyone talk to you like you're 2 years old? Or, all right, this one says R. Kelly is permanently trapped in your closet. I think, yeah, we don't want we don't want R. Kelly in our closet. So, would you rather have everyone talk to you like a 2-year-old, or you have to watch every single episode of The Big Bang Theory nonstop
Until they're done, or just like
until it says
forever?
it just says at the time that this game was made, they were on episode 224 and counting. So I'm thinking it just means until it's over.
Wait, what was the first one?
Everyone talks to you like you're 2 years old.
I'll take the Big Bang Theory. I would.
Yeah.
I that's like a personal pet peeve of mine is people talking down to me. So.
I mean, I've watched most of them anyway. So.
I haven't. But I mean,
I think the back-to-back thing is the part that would, because I don't usually binge watch things for more than a couple hours at a time.
I mean, but yeah.
Because
But that there's an end to it, as opposed to everyone talking to me for like a 2-year-old for the rest of my life. Like at some point, I will watch the last episode of Big Bang Theory. I'm going with that one.
Like if you go to your boss, hey boss, I'll be back in a few minutes. Oh, what? You gotta go poo poo? You gotta go poo poo?
Oh my God, I would murder someone.
Yeah, that's everybody. So it's like that'd be my wife, that'd be my
Yeah.
kids.
No.
That'd be the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, that would
All
be
right, time to go to school, guys. Oh, look at Daddy trying to take us to school.
bad.
Daddy's a
You
big boy trying to drive the big car. Aren't you gonna drive the big car?
Did you get your lunch? Did you get your lunch?
Daddy's gonna
Scott, what about you? Which one
make
would you
that
pick?
money.
I've seen one episode of The Big Bang Theory from beginning to end,
What?
and that was more than enough for me. So I'm leaning towards people talking to me like a 2-year-old.
Wow.
I think
Why?
your head would explode after like the first 30 minutes.
I don't understand.
Of The Big Bang Theory? Yeah, I'm glad
No,
the episode was
of
only
some-
22 minutes long.
You could zone out of the Big Bang Theory, like do some vacuuming, wash some dishes.
If they could guarantee that I don't have to sit and give it my undivided attention, and if they could guarantee that it's going to be from the first episode to the final episode and then it stops, not looping all the seasons, continuously forever. And if they can guarantee that they're not going to find some clever loophole where they can sneak young Sheldon in there too, then I'd think about it. And I would,
Priceline commercial.
I would,
Um,
I would learn how to compartmentalize my attention so I could have Big Bang Theory playing like, somewhere in the background, and then I could have Star Trek playing on a different screen and focus on that. Then maybe.
everybody makes fun of young Sheldon, but it is the second highest rated comedy on TV
After the Big Bang Theory.
after Big Bang Theory.
Okay, well, there you go.
And Big Bang
I think you
Theory.
made the point.
Big Bang Theory is over. It had their finale, and Young Sheldon has been renewed for 2 more seasons at least.
I will say I've never watched an episode of Young Sheldon, so I can't really speak to its quality.
It's good. I like it.
And I will also say I have watched The Big Bang Theory and laughed at it. I haven't watched every episode. I haven't watched most episodes, but I've seen episodes, and they've made me laugh.
I am a fan of Big Bang Theory. I think it lasted too long. I think it was on for too long, but it should have ended in like season 8, but it was still it was funny.
I do like a good Slapsgiving episode.
Oh,
Now how I met your mother.
Nothing like it.
I was kicking myself after I did the live episode with David C. Robertson where we talked about series finales. I was kicking myself for not bringing up How I Met Your Mother. It's one of the worst series finales ever.
Agree to disagree. We can discuss it on another show.
We'll do a series finale part 2. All right. I think that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. So I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for asking me to come along. It was a fun time. It's always a pleasure.
And Virginia, Scott, let everybody know where they can find you. I'm sorry.
Well, people can find my personal Twitter account at Fleet Admiral UFP. You can find my professional art Twitter account at Planet Rise, where I have a new Photoshop project that I've started just a couple weeks ago, where every week I'm going to be releasing a Photoshop image that I created of a Starfleet comm badge from a different division of Starfleet. Somewhere like 3 to 5 of which we know of, and then the rest I just made them up. Completely original divisions, and it's a whole lot of fun. And with today being the anniversary of Star Trek II being released, there was a bonus one that I put on Twitter. So if anyone wants to see that bonus division badge, then go to Twitter at Planet Rise and check it out. Also, I'm the host of The Prime Direction, and who knows what the Twitter account is for that. Is it Prime Direct Pod? I think it's Prime Direct Pod.
Yeah, Prime Direct Pod. I think so.
Go visit.
Go to cosmicpotato.com and it is on there. And there is a link to it on there.
Hey, yep, there it is at Prime Direct Pod on Twitter. And you can check that out. At the time of this recording, episode 2 will be released within the next day or 2. So by the time you hear this, it's probably already out there. Go check it out.
Okay. All right. And Virginia, thank you for being here.
I just realized that I confused How I Met Your Mother with The Big Bang Theory, but that's not surprising because that's how interchangeable they are to me. Whoops. Anyway,
I thought that was intentional.
yeah, no, it wasn't. I'm just that much of an airhead. You can find me on the podcast that I do with my boyfriend Shane, called Wait You've Never Seen, where we talk about a movie or TV show that one of us has never seen on Cosmic Potato Network or at waityou'veneverseen.com.
All right. And John, thank you for being here as well.
You're welcome, Sean. It's always a pleasure.
And where can everybody find you, sir?
People can find me also on the Cosmic Potato Network, hosting a Captain Game Show. It's a game show that I'm hosting. Trivia, wordplay, general tomfoolery. You can find it on Facebook, Captain Game Show, and also on Twitter at Captain Game Show. It's fun.
All right. And everybody, head over to cosmicpotato.com to learn more about the other shows that we have available on the network. And if you want to find out how to get in touch with us here, just stay tuned. Announcer Nate will let you know momentarily. Thank you all for listening, and make sure that you join us next time on Cosmic Potato, the Super Fan Talk podcast, when you might hear John say,
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you don't know what I'm thinking.